is to go through tough things together, and you try to create some adversity in practice. But until they go through it together in games, scrimmage situations, things of that nature, that's when your team really gets built. But as far as building a mutual respect for one another and their ability to respect each other's games, but also respect the fact that they can make each other better, I think that's what we're trying to build right now, and that's what's starting to happen.
Thoughts on the league and moving up, in terms of Indiana?
Well, we've got a long way to go. It's a very tough league. It's not like anyone in this league wants to give their spot in it up. So I'm not as focused on that right now. It's just a matter of us trying to climb daily, knowing that if we want to get to places in this league and above and beyond it, which Indiana has always been known for, then it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of extra effort. It's going to take a lot of extra time. It's going to take guys that are really, really committed to being competitive every day.
You talked about it earlier when you first got to Bloomington about it being tougher than maybe you'd anticipated. Update that. Is it just taking longer than you thought?
Well, there's no gauge for it. I mean, when you start over, and start over with a brand new team, and the league is already pretty good. Everybody thinks, well, you're starting at zero. Well, no, you're really not. I mean, you're starting somewhere in a negative number because everybody else is already pretty good. So it's not like you can catch up because they're moving forward. If everybody starts at zero, well, then it makes sense, but nobody did. And so there's no gauge on that, and we haven't been deep enough. We haven't had enough depth. We certainly haven't been talented enough at this point overall to withstand injuries. And so when you lose some key contributors in your team and you go to the bench, our guys have to do more than they're capable of doing at that point in their game and their career. You're asking a lot of them. Hopefully that's going to help us. I mean, Verdell Jones, I don't think was being recruited by too many people early on to come in and do anything other than redshirt. And maybe other people were telling him something different, but when you're 162 pounds at 6'5", you're probably going to redshirt. Well, he went over the 1,000-point marker for us as a junior in one of the first games. So you just hope that those kind of things continue to move forward.
Are they tougher now this year, and are they also more mature in all aspects?
Well,
of the game?
tougher. They look tougher. They're tougher against one another. Toughness really comes down when you're down 5 with 3 minutes to go, and you got to figure out a way to win on the road. Now that's real toughness, and we have not been that group yet. And that's the sustainable toughness that you want to have after you've built it up day after day by going through different things. And this team needs to have some success. This team, we've had some successful games, we've had some successful times, but I think last year, more than any other year in my coaching life, we never were able to capture momentum because every time, like the Michigan game is a great example. I mean, we really beat Michigan very handily, okay? And we lose Maurice Creek in the second half near the end of that game. And Maurice Creek was just about where he needed to be. Well, then, a game later, Verdell Jones gets hurt, okay? Then 2 games later, Christian Watford gets hurt. And we never were able to build on the momentum of the Michigan win or the Illinois win, like we would have wanted. We go up to Michigan State, we lose in overtime at the buzzer on a missed 3, and Christian Watford breaks his wrist in that game. So those injuries are a part of the game, but the best teams don't have a lot of drop-off when they go to the bench and they have to replace those guys. And we haven't had that yet, and that's what we want to continue to build towards right now. And I know it's coming. There's no doubt is the way that we're recruiting. We're building a deeper team, and you don't have depth unless you have consistency, and you don't have a deep team unless there's very little drop-off when you go to the bench. We haven't had that yet.
You've had a lot of these kids for a while now. Is that giving you an indication that you can do some things better now?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
They're stronger.
Absolutely. Yeah, no question. No question. There's no doubt about that. They're improving in all facets of the game, their mindset, their maturity, and no question about that.
Speaking on the adversity that you guys have gone through, do you think the team would be as mentally tough this year as they are if they wouldn't have gone through some of that adversity last year?
Well, I'd like to have the winning records of the 20 wins to find out and see if we could build mental toughness that way, but we haven't had that. So they're hungry. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, there's a very committed attitude to them. There's a spirit of we're going to be better because we're going to do it together. type of thing. There's a spirit of they want to change things. They want to change their fortunes a little bit. And so with that, that's carried right on into practice, and we'll see how it turns out when we start playing games.
Tom, defensively, I know you've put a lot of emphasis on that going into this season. Have you seen that carry over, that emphasis carry over into practice sessions thus far?
I think we have, but I'm really anxious to see it against, as I tell the guys, against live bullets. And what's it look like when we're playing against somebody else? Because there's no doubt we've spent a lot of time on that, and we had to, because our defensive transition has to improve, our weak side defense has to improve, our weak side blocking out has to improve, we've got to cut down our fouling. I mean, there's just absolutely no way around it. We've got to create more turnovers off of our defense. So really, with defense and rebounding, as commonplace as they sound, for a team that's getting more athletic, for a team that's getting more experience, for a team that's got some real talent coming in with somebody like Cody Zeller, the more you can create from your defense, the more you can create off the backboards offensively and defensively, the better chance you have to score. And the other thing that we want to do an even better job of is getting fouled. And one way for that to happen is to get out in transition and to get out and run better. Well, you don't get out in transition consistently if you're bringing it up after made baskets. So when you can get out after turnovers, when you can get out after defensive rebounds, then you have a chance to get to the foul line, because we're a very good foul shooting team, but we weren't near the top in attempts at all. And so those are things that we have to improve upon.
Coach, you had mentioned Cody making it, sort of playing through him and making it, it makes it easier for everybody else. Is there anyone specifically on the team that maybe he benefits from being on the court with more than
No, I think we're trying to build a team that would have, with Maurice going down, and the tough thing with Maurice getting hurt is he gets hurt on a Friday. I get a doctor's report on a Tuesday. He had just been examined a couple days earlier. He was 90% of the way back, for us, with all the strength factors and things like that he had to have. So we were certainly looking at him as being a guy that was going to be a starter or fighting for a starting position at least by mid-December. And we would like to have a team that would have upwards of maybe 8 starters. Maybe we won't have that now, but I think when you're building a team that you could go that way, that's what we're trying to have. So with that being said, everybody needs to benefit from Cody being on the floor, and Cody needs to benefit from all of them.
Tom, I hate to go back to this again defensively. Is there anybody that you're looking at right now in your team that you think sets the bar the way you want it defensively?
Improvement-wise, Verdell Jones. Consistency-wise, Victor Oladipo. We got to get a bunch of guys that improve to the rate of Verdell. We've got to get a bunch of guys that have the rate of consistency defensively that Victor does, and Victor has to raise his standards consistently. Will is getting closer to that. And what they need to understand is that team defense is such a difference maker. And what we're trying to get all of them to understand, that when you're not guarding the ball, you're always responsible for at least 3 things. And you cannot rest. You cannot rest off the ball. You cannot rest when the shot goes up. You cannot rest on the weak side. You cannot get hugged up on your man on the weak side. There's always a minimum. You can point out to any possession on the court. There's one person guarding the ball. There's 4 other people in a defensive position. There's at least 3 things that they have to be responsible for. So the point being that alertness, that awareness, all those things have got to play into it. And that's what we're looking for, consistency-wise and improvement-wise.
Coach, you talked about how you didn't get as much time to work on the other side of the ball on offense.
I just haven't chosen to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has it not taken shape yet? Do you not see where it's going, or is that just an ongoing process?
It's a process. Offense is always a process. And this year I made a concerted effort that our offensive skill improvement in the preseason was really on driving the ball, shooting the ball, certain spacing things, but there was no offenses put in. We played less and less 4-on-4 in the sense of trying to get guys to understand this, understand that. It's been really a lot more centered on defense. Great example. Instead of scoring on offense, most of our drill work and our breakdown work, we're scoring on defense. And so we've tried to put the players a little bit more in charge in practice. Good shot, bad shot, while the coaches are focusing so much on the-ball defense, off-the-ball defense, rebounds, and I'm trying to really watch technique. 4 years in, we're way past having to worry about somebody playing hard enough. That was the first 3 years, and frankly, it was way too much. Trying to get guys to understand how hard you had to play, because you can't be competitive if you're really trying to figure out how hard you have to go. You can become competitive after you're going hard all the time. So that's where that's taken shape, and I like the upside of it.